I'm actually substituting today for my colleague Councillor Cleaver, a Stamford councillor. I personally, I'm a user of Stamford Hospital, have been in the past. And he's asked me to raise a couple of questions with you, having read the papers. And the first one is, some years ago, there was a recognition of the need for more car parking for patients at Stamford Hospital, and to the extent that planning permission was granted for extra parking within the complex. But that hasn't happened over the years, and I believe that the planning permission has now lapsed. So can I ask, on behalf of my colleague, why is it no longer a priority, parking, and what steps are you able to take to enforce the fact that only patients getting treatment at the time should be using the parking there? Because I understand others sort of park there and leave the cars there for long periods.
Thank you, David. So first thing to say is that absolutely remains a priority for us. We know that it is a challenge at certain peak times for our patients and visitors to be able to park at Stamford. Some of that is as a consequence of some of the nearby companies and facilities not introducing ANPR, so that they have been charging people to park where they are, including around the local GP practice. So we will be introducing ANPR so that only appropriate patients and visitors will be able to park in our grounds moving forward. You're absolutely right. We did have planning permission previously for a multi-storey car park. And of course, whilst that remains a consideration were that to be required, we of course need to utilise public funds appropriately, and if there are alternatives to not building a multi-storey car park, including conversations that are ongoing that David may be able to touch on with one of the adjacent large car parks, which might mean that we can still provide sufficient space for our patients and staff without the need for a multi-storey car park. David, did you want to come in on that?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Callum. So as you can imagine, car parking at hospitals is an emotive issue that we deal with all the time. And one of our primary goals has been for ensuring our staff travel as sustainably as possible, because we can get more of our staff using buses, or potentially cycling and walking to work, and that frees up more space for patients that need it. And we have done so certainly at Peterborough and Hinchinbrook with initiatives around free bus travel, and hope we are able to mirror something as well for staff working at Stamford. It's just a different area that we're working on. So that's the first aim, to ensure that the parking we do have is used and we meet our sustainability objectives. As Callum said, we've invested in parking controls, so they will be implemented in the spring. So we're going to effectively have the ability to control who parks there, which we don't have at present, which causes some of the issues because we have non-patients and staff using the facilities. But we're also undertaking, across all three of our hospitals, things like travel plans that work on, assessing how we can improve travel to the hospitals. But the strategy really is about ensuring that, the patients that need parking close to the hospital most of all for mobility challenges, etc., have that facility, and we encourage other people that can to travel there sustainably.
I'm grateful for the answers, thank you, and I'm sure I'll pass them to Councillor Cleaver. My next question was on. I noticed that the minor injuries unit at Stamford was notable by its absence in the papers promoting the daycare, the day treatment centre. Can you please clarify the position on the future of the minor injuries unit? And just as a final question, I'll throw in now because I think it's a quick one, is you're obviously seeking planning permission in May, but have a target of the day treatment centre, a new build being open early 25. That just sounds a little bit of a big ask. Is it realistic? Thank you.
I can cover the planning permission. So effectively, what we're doing is a modular build. So a lot of it is constructed off-site, delivered in modules, and therefore we have a very condensed window of construction. It's what's known as modern methods of construction, and it's something that is quite well established across the NHS. So the planning permission, we have a lot of confidence because this is replacing a RAC building which has inherent risk, and there's also a commitment from the government to replace RAC buildings. And hopefully you've seen from paper that this is both a significant investment at sort of £18 million, but also perhaps the biggest investment that we've had in Stamford itself. So it will be improving the buildings and the care that we can give. So we are reasonably confident that it will be passed, and yes, the window is one that we can achieve and have previous experience of doing so. So January 25 is a realistic date.
Thank you. David, so in relation to the MiU, so you'll be aware, I would expect, that the guidance around the provision of MiUs has changed as a national guidance change, and that is a commissioned service. So I can't comment in relation to the commissioning because that needs to be with John Turner as the ICB. All I would say is we know it's an issue and we are working very closely with the ICB to try and find a way through what is clear guidance to ensure that we can maintain services in Stamford, because as we have said and what have I said, we have a responsibility to the citizens of Stamford to provide that service. So in terms of intent, that's with the commissioners. I'm sure you'll pick up with them separately, but what we are keen to find a pragmatic solution.